Hey guys, Ryan here. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down why I think LMGs are such an important part of the meta right now. I'm not necessarily saying they're outright better than most assault rifles, but in the context of raw time to kill and damage potential, they are some of the best guns in the game right now. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the differences between assault rifles, between LMGs. The first half of the video, I'm going to have a lot more gameplay in the background. There's going to be some plunder, so not a true representation of their actual power. But then the second half of the video is going to be more focused on a stat breakdown and why you should choose certain guns over others. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, you don't have to like, you don't have to subscribe. But if you choose to do those things, I just want to say thank you. And most importantly, I just want to say thank you guys for watching this video. But let's get into it. So the main thing on everyone's mind probably is, which one should you use? An assault rifle or an LMG? And the real answer is going to depend on you and your play style. I really think the MG82 has some of the best time to kill in the game. I think it has some of the best potential in the game in anyone's hands to be really good, but it has pretty difficult recoil to control for some people, and some people don't like the sluggishness that comes with running an LMG. On the other hand, something like the Grau is going to have much easier recoil to control at long ranges, and you're going to find yourself just absolutely melting kids with your ability to just hit multiple shots. Same thing with a bunch of other assault rifles. The other real benefit that assault rifles have is their overall mobility advantage. Now, it's not that LMGs aren't mobile, it's just that the fact is they're slower than assault rifles on average. Now, of course, there are some exceptions in certain situations, but something like the Stoner will have you moving slower than something like the Cold War AK or the C58. Now, the EM2 can be a little slow itself, and the MG82 can actually be pretty quick for an LMG, but overall, it's easy to say that the mobility advantage goes to assault rifles, and that can't be underestimated because mobility is a huge part of Warzone. It's a huge part of staying alive in Warzone, of getting kills, so that's something to consider. On the other hand, though, is the damage potential usually favors LMGs over assault rifles. If you hit your shots, if you're accurate, if you're aimed down sight, if you're ready for people, LMGs will almost always be better in terms of the damage factor compared to assault rifles. This isn't to say assault rifles can't keep up, because the difference is usually so minuscule, it's really going to come down to playstyle. But if you are a really good player, LMGs are something to really consider. I'm going to break it down later in the stats section exactly why I say these things, but just know for the most part is that the raw damage and the whole potential of killing a whole squad, considering the entire mag size and everything, it's going to favor LMGs over ARs for the most part. So when it comes down to picking between an AR or an LMG, the main thing I'd really consider is just what feels best to you. Try the different guns, get a feel for them, and understand that different guns are going to feel different for each person. Some guns are going to feel better for you as a player, and some guns are going to feel worse. And that's something you just have to be aware of. Some guns really click with certain people, but some guns, the way the recoil feels, the way they have the ability to control recoil, the way their muscle memory is, they just can't mesh with other guns. So that's why I say personal feel is always going to beat whatever other measure. I can talk about mobility, I can talk about raw time to kill all day, but if you are able to hit more shots with a certain gun compared to another gun, then that gun is always going to be the better gun to use. I can't stress enough. You can get better with using certain guns over time because recoil is predictive and you can build up muscle memory, but just know that if you're ever uncomfortable with the gun, don't feel forced to use it. Just use guns that you are best with, because that's the most important thing. So that's why I'd also suggest, though, to try new guns, because certain guns will surprise you. You're going to use them and you're going to find yourself just getting a couple more kills a game because their damage output is just higher than the other guns you were using before. And you're going to find that the recoil just fits the player you are. So keep that in mind when you're choosing between an AR and an LMG. Now, if you want to know which assault rifle you should use or which LMG you should use, I'm going to give you a list of 5 to 10 guns for both to use right now. So for assault rifles, I'd really recommend the Cold War AK, because as you're going to see later on, it's the one AR that damage-wise hangs with pretty much every LMG. Now, the C58 and the EM2 are very similar. They still pack really good damage, they still feel really good. They just have a little recoil that feels a little weird to some people. They don't work with some people, but to some people they click really well. So keep that in mind. Then beyond that, the Grau and M13 are really good right now as well. The Grau more than the M13, but they're both really solid. Same thing with the AMAX. Now, all of those are really, really good. You can use them. Same thing with the XM4, the FARA. All of those are really good. There's so many different options. There's so many different guns right now, and almost anything is viable. Beyond that, for LMGs, I'd really, really recommend the MG82. If you can control the recoil, if you can get the feel of it, you're going to destroy kids. The time to kill is absolutely insane compared to almost every other gun, and it's just easily one of the best. Now, the Stoner, the Bruin, the RPD are all really, really good, and that's the order of preference I would give to using them. Okay, guys, so now I want to talk about the raw time to kill. So in orange, we're going to have the MG82. That blue right above the orange is going to be the Cold War AK. The green is the Grau. The other kind of light blue is the Stoner. The purple is going to be the C58. And as before mentioned, the orange is the MG82. So now that you're seeing this, you have to understand exactly what you're looking at. This is going to be shots to the chest. This is going to be time to kill overall if all shots are hitting the chest. But that's another thing to consider. That's not always going to happen. Damage is going to change based on extremities, based on things like that. And as you're going to see, the MG82 is literally so far ahead of every other gun aside from the Cold War AK. And that's what I was saying earlier about the Cold War AK. I think a lot of people are put off by the potential recoil and the usage of it beyond potentially 75 meters. But promise me, guys, it's worth it. You can see right there on the chart, it's actually really, really good. But beyond that, in the light blue with the Stoner, you can see how far that damage range goes, and that's so far beyond almost every other gun. That means it's going to have that low of time to kill out to about 60 meters or so, and that's absolutely outrageous and one of the reasons why it's so good. Along with the huge magazine, that's the upside of LMGs. But now there's a second part to this, and this is going to be the mobility factor that I talked about earlier. So I'm going to be comparing the sprint to fire time and aim down sight time of all these guns. So as you can see, on par when you're looking at the sprint to fire time, the LMGs are way worse than almost every other gun out there. Now the ADS times are a little messed up because I didn't build attachments properly, so kind of ignore those. But do focus on the movement speed, the ADS movement speed, and things like that. Those are the things to really keep in mind when you're factoring in a total feel of a gun. That sprint to fire difference is massive, and it's going to really be something you're going to notice in gunfights. When you get caught out and you're sprinting, having an extra 60-70 milliseconds to react is going to be the difference between you surviving and you dying way too many times. So overall, guys, I hope you got a good overview on if you should be using an assault rifle, an LMG, and I hope you just understand that's all personal preference really at the end of the day. I hope I gave you guys good info to make an informed decision, but use which one feels best to you, and do try out some new guns with the knowledge, though, that I have given here. Do understand the MG82 is really, really good, but you have to understand the recoil and how to control it, and if you can't do that, don't feel pressured. The most important thing is you have to be able to hit your shots, not necessarily that whatever shots you're hitting are the best in the game. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, you don't have to like, you don't have to subscribe. Just want to say thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day. It's been Ryan. Peace.